¿Cómo están? Muy buenos días y bienvenidos a este
How
quinto
are you? Good morning, and welcome to the fifth day of Virtual Out to LAC 2020. We made it to Friday, and we're very excited about today's program. As you know, for 9 years, Outsource to LAC offers a space for global digital service companies in the region to learn from experts in the industry at the regional and global level about the most recent innovations in the area. This week, we have had top-rate speakers who've talked to us about e-commerce, e-learning. They've talked about entrepreneurship during COVID-19, how to make the most of our current situation. We had a great panel on automation yesterday, so I really hope that you are enjoying these sessions as much as we are. If for some reason you weren't able to be at the previous sessions, we invite you to find them at outsourcetolac.com. So today, since it's Friday and we're going to celebrate, we have very interesting meetings on the creative industries in Latin America and the Caribbean. And who better to start with than a country that has truly gone all in on the orange economy? For me, it's an honor to introduce our session today, which is called Creative Digital Industries in Colombia, Generators of Employment and Innovation.
and we will offer simultaneous interpretation in English. We invite you to locate your interpretation button at the bottom of your window. Los invitamos a que compartan sus preguntas en el chat. A final de la presentación, habrá tiempo para compartir
Please share your questions via chat, and at the end of the session, we'll have time to ask our panelists a few of them. So there is a session at 11 a.m., video games as the next platform for entertainment and investment at 11 o'clock. So I'll start by introducing our esteemed panel today. Laura Valdivieso, Vice Minister of Foreign Trade; Felipe Buitrago, the Vice Minister of Creativity and the Orange Economy from the Ministry of Culture. Sorry, Laura Valdivieso from the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Germán Rueda, from the Ministry of Technology, Information Technology and Communications; Eduardo Acosta, the CEO of Omnicom; and Ileana Milquez, CEO of World Tech Makers. Alejandra, the Sector Specialist for Trade and Integration at the IDB, has the floor. Itzel, good morning, and good morning to everyone who is with us this morning. Welcome. Welcome to this panel, Creative Digital Industries, Generators of Employment and Innovation. As Itzel was saying, this session is part of this large-scale virtual business forum, Outsourced to LAC 2020, organized by Connect Americas with great energy and hoping to add to the professionalism of our entrepreneurs in the entire region. This is our fifth day, and we hope that it is extremely interesting, as all of these sessions that we have seen throughout this week. As my colleague introduced me, I am Alejandra Villota, a specialist for the trade and integration sector at the IDB, and today it is my great pleasure to moderate this panel with top-tier guests that we have invited to be here with you and who I will introduce shortly. So to get this session started, I'd like to say that Latin America is a creative region. It's full of talent, and we might say that these are some of its most valuable assets. Its creative industries, those that make the most of human capital and talent, and the use of technology to create goods and services with value added to generate innovation and new experiences for users, while it also creates high quality employment, truly are called to lead economic recovery, to turn our region into a region with a diversified economy, with a competitive economy, with an economy that is knowledge-based and talent-based. Ernst & Young estimates that all goods and services associated to creativity are producing over 30 million all over the world and generate over 3% of the global GDP. Just for comparison's sake, this means that creative industries, when it comes to job creation, create more employment than the auto industry in the EU, in Japan, or even in the US. Here in Latin creative industries are creating approximately 2.2% of the global GDP, with over 2 million high-quality jobs created, which is $124 billion. And Colombia is a pioneer country in the region because we are turning creative industries, the orange economy industry, into a strategic business proposition so that talent and creativity become sources of economic development. Based on the last report for the orange economy published by the National Department of Statistics, DANEM, it shows that in 2018, the orange economy created over 540,000 quality employments and makes up 3.2 of the GDP in Colombia. And if we were to look at only exports, exporting creative services, we shouldn't be surprised to see that it is these creative services that make up more um, dynamic activity in the sector. We could talk about, say, software, digital content, animation, video games, all activities related to creation and design, among others, just to give you a few examples. According to ProColombia, exports that are related to these creative services, orange exports, in 2019 made up over $238 million. And if we look at only the first 4 months of 2020, we'll see very happily that these exports have gone up by over 17%, when obviously we've seen exports falling dramatically in the areas of tourism, transportation, travel, and obviously the export of goods from our country due to this crisis. Now, the importance and the resilience of creative services have been proven during this crisis, not only because digital services have been less exposed to these supply and demand shocks that we are experiencing, but also because this crisis is speeding up digital transformation for many companies in traditional production sectors. So this has multiplied the involvement of the creative industries in producing goods and services and transformation in traditional industries such as the health sector, education. We've seen it in finance as well, just to name a few. We have seen examples, for example, of virtual reality platforms that have been used by hundreds of museums all over the world in order to allow us from the comfort of our own homes to visit art galleries, art exhibits in many countries all over the world. There are video game platforms that are extremely sophisticated that are using entertainment and gaming to entertain and train young people all over our region. There are e-commerce platforms or e-payment platforms that are allowing many businesses all over our region to adopt online sales outlets to survive this crisis. Actually, a recent survey conducted by the IDB to 500 companies all over our region show that over half of businesses are using an electronic sales outlet to export their goods. But an important statistic is 70% of these businesses say that they had to adopt, that they had to implement an electronic channel specifically during the pandemic. So we are facing economic recovery, and as we do, it will be important not only for Colombia, but for all countries about our region to identify where we need to invest strategically, what factors will allow our region to have a recovery that is much more sustainable. And we need to talk about the role of digital creative industries during economic recovery for the country. And obviously, we will talk about incentives and tools that the government is putting into place in order to support and promote exports, growth in these industries, and obviously to create production chains with traditional businesses. So that is why we've brought this excellent panel today, headed by the Vice Minister of Foreign Trade, Laura Valdivieso. Her portfolio, she is leading the implementation of the policy Colombia Exports, promoting exports and attracting foreign investment to the creative services sector. A part of this strategy is being implemented through a loan program structured with the IDB and the Ministry of Trade to promote exporting creative services specifically. We also have the Vice Minister of Creativity of the Orange Economy, Felipe Buitrago. This is a vice ministry created by the Ministry of Culture. It was created in 2018, and it was created under this administration to implement a strategy to promote the orange economy. We also have the Vice Ministry of the Digital Economy, Germán Rueda, who is in charge, obviously, of designing public policies and programs, as incentives for ICTs, and to promote digital transformation. And from the private sector, it is a great pleasure for me to introduce two Colombian entrepreneurs. The first is Eduardo Acosta, the CEO of Omnicon, which is a business with technological solutions that are directed specifically towards industry, and the idea has been to reach markets in Europe, in Latin America, and the US. He has over 21 years of experience, and he will tell us how he's supporting that digital transformation for other companies, not only in Colombia, but around the world. We also have with us Ileana Milquez, the CEO and co-founder of World Tech Majors. This is one of the first immersive programs in Latin America, and many countries in the region are involved. And a spin-off of World Tech Makers is Maker Kits. This is educational software that promotes STEM learning for young people throughout the region. Ilana will also talk to us about her experience leading these technological and creative companies in the region. So to get started with our conversation with our panelists today, then I would like to start by talking with all of you about opportunities specifically during this crisis, the opportunities for digital creative industries that are arising. And I'd like to know what your perspective is based on your area of expertise and your industries, the role of digital creative industries and the role that these industries will have in the economic recovery of our country and the entire region. I'd like to start perhaps then with the Vice Minister, Laura Valdivieso. Vice Minister, we've always been told that there are opportunities in every crisis, and we are seeing a reshuffling of value chains in large-scale industries such as the pharmaceutical industry, for example, where large companies are trying to become more resilient in their production chains. They are prioritizing producers who are closer locally and promoting the ways to do this, and they're talking about the large-scale benefits that this reshuffling in value chains can create for Latin American businesses, especially the service sector. Madam Vice Minister, from the ministry, what do you think that these main opportunities are that are arising from this crisis? What new trends are coming up for Colombian creative industries, specifically in the creative sector? Well, good morning, everyone. And Alejandra, thank you very much for your question. Foreign trade there's been a paradigm shift for many years, and obviously this was all highlighted by the crisis. So we've seen that resilience is more important, and robust value chains, how strong are they? It's more important than their efficiency, which was one of the main values in the past. We saw outsourcing that was growing in production. We had seen this wave coming of reshoring last year with the trade war, which was accentuated this year with the pandemic, of course, and obviously the digitalization of trade. So these paradigms are challenges for us, but they are also opportunities that we've been analyzing and discovering with institutions like the IDB over the last few years. I would like to talk about a few specific things that go hand in hand. First of all, the importance of strengthening intra-regional trade and the opportunity that this is, and to the service economy. And I hope that we talk about knowledge-based services. And I'd like to give you a few numbers, some information to think about. First, the intensity of trade in almost all production chains has fallen, even though trade has grown in absolute terms over the years. part of the world that moves via international trade has gone from 28% in 2007 to 22.5% in 2017. In the last decade, the service economy, however, has grown 60% faster than than goods, and IT services, business services, IP have grown, uh, have doubled or even tripled. The service economy is not only growing faster than the goods of economy, but it's also creating more value in our countries and our societies. And this is a growing trend that shows that global value chains will be much more intensive when it comes to knowledge. So non-skilled labor or low cost labor loses importance as a factor in production for reasons we might think because of the paradigms we have in mind as far as how trade used to work. Currently, only 18% of the global trade of goods is led by the cost of labor. And what that means is that the decisions that companies make as far as where to set up shop is based on skilled labor, the quality of infrastructure, and how close they are to their consumers. So this means that value chains have become much more regional in nature and less global. And up until recently, trade in the region had been falling. We've seen this happen in Colombia, but it's happened all over the region. It went from 51% and dropped to about 45% in 2012. However, this trend started to reverse. It's been accentuated by this pandemic. Interregional trade has gone up by 2.7% since 2013, which shows growing consumption in emerging markets. Without a doubt, the world is more connected than ever, but these connections have changed. Since 2005, uh, cross-border broadband has gone up exponentially. Now it's 45 times greater, and digitalization in the economy opens the doors to everyone. It democratizes the benefits of foreign trade, small companies, developing countries, entrepreneurs. Everyone's able to access these benefits, and this is one of the huge hurdles we had to leap over earlier. Now, I would say that any company, any entrepreneur with the right processes in place could become global. A recent report on digitalization states that by 2019, 12% of cross-border trade was conducted via e-commerce and that 86% of technology-based businesses reported some cross-border transactions. So they are participating in value chains. What I mean by this then is that services are the future of globalization, and for that reason then a trade policy of trade promotion and exporting supported by the service value chain is key. Services have many fewer restrictions in place: transportation, logistics, geography, uh, tariffs are not an issue, and there we do have human talent and digital technology in place, which are benefits. So I think that the pandemic has pressured globalization. We do face significant challenges that we need to overcome, but we do believe that trade turns into a comparative advantage, and therefore there are opportunities there to bring down communication costs, to share knowledge via technology, and to reduce or modernize the laws in place that restrict it. In Colombia, we are heavily investing due to the export of services. We would say that services now are a large part of our exports. The exports of services doubled and grew by 96% in the last decade compared to 2010. In 2019, services made up 40% of non-mining and energy exports in the country, and our numbers have been historic highs, reaching $10 billion in this area. But we do face significant challenges, as you mentioned before, and that is that our services are heavily concentrated in travel tourism, and transportation, and these areas will take longer to recover. So we are working very vigorously on knowledge-based services, as I mentioned, because they have a starring role to play in economic recovery, but we are convinced in our human capital, we are convinced that our human capital is our greatest asset. So as a part of this entire exercise, looking for new opportunities stemming from the pandemic, we are trying to we're looking at software, education, health, the financial sector, other business services, cybersecurity, virtual reality, mobile apps, animation, and some opportunities come from pre-COVID trends that were already in place, but some are consumption trends that definitely sped up and were accentuated during our current crisis. So yes, undoubtedly, we do see opportunities that are arising in our region. We have identified a few priority or strategic markets such as Mexico, Chile, and Peru, but we also see opportunities when it comes to software, for example, in Central America, the US and Canada, the UK, some trade partners in the EU in the area of animation, for example, and I'm sure that my colleagues will be able to talk to you about this in greater detail. We see countries that are very interested in Colombia, such as India, Singapore, Korea, Japan, thinking about co-producing, for example, and co-creating and generating animation content. For example, even given the current situation, Discovery Kids, the station, had shown interest in Colombian animation and what we had to offer. So what we have seen are opportunities, and it's up to us to create the factors that need to be put into place so that we can make the absolute most of this crisis. I'll conclude by saying that for us, trade and commerce go hand in hand. And for us, it will be key to promote the export of services, but also to attract investment in order to develop these sectors where there is the potential for exporting. And one sector that we deeply believe in is the health sector, which does have the ability to attract investment to develop clinical studies, specialized software in the area of telemedicine, which obviously we can quickly become a hub for exporting services, but also a power in the region when it comes to providing these knowledge-based services and that come from post-COVID trends. Thank you very much, Madam Vice Minister. And just as a follow-up question, could you tell um, our business people and specifically Colombians who are with us today, what have been the specific tools that the Ministry of Trade with ProColombia and Colombia Productiva are developing specifically in the framework of programs structured with the bank that are geared towards supporting entrepreneurs so that they can become a key factor in the economic recovery of the country? Yes, we had been working on this from before. The only thing is it became more pressing due to the pandemic, but we'd been working with the IDB on a credit operation, a loan operation. We were identifying activities where businesses could be strengthened, where we could strengthen capacity for exporting and strengthening knowledge-based companies. And so this project became so valuable right now because from different angles, we are attempting to support our knowledge-based services and support their needs to become more international. So we have statistics on market access that we didn't have traditionally because all of our institutional capacity had been focused on the trade in goods, regulatory enhancements to allow these sectors to become more international, capacity building of institutions so that they could sell goods and services, which they did not do previously. And the idea was also to close gender gaps in these sectors. that is all a part of the work that we have been doing. We have some key tools in place in order to promote exports in this sector. For example, programs meant to strengthen um, production change, production chains and businesses, programs to strengthen productivity so that companies become more international. And we want to improve what we have to offer so that people join our flagship initiative as well as other initiatives we have in place so that we can reach other markets through strategies such as soft landing and other events specifically for certain sectors. So we're very excited about this project. And as I was saying, given our current circumstances, we have been working and fine-tuning a few tools that we think could be key for foreign investment in these strategic sectors and to increase the export of services. So we have developed a few tools that I believe will be launched very shortly. And I can mention a couple of them to you. We're thinking about greater access or more competitive access to production factors. We're looking to lower tariffs for all related services to provide these key services. We had a key tool in Colombia called El Plan Vallejo, which was a tool used to promote exports via importing raw materials. But we want to take this to the next level by promoting exporting services. We have invested heavily in promoting e-commerce, and my two colleagues in government here have gone all in on this because we think that the easiest and most effective way to get SMEs and entrepreneurs to access the benefits of foreign trade is to make the most of new trade opportunities like the ones I mentioned previously in very specific sectors that are the winners or have proven to be most resilient during this crisis. And of course, as I said earlier, promoting knowledge-based services as well. So there are several tools, traditional tools that are in place in order to facilitate trade and investment. In addition to the Vallejo plan, we have another one I'd like to mention, which is Zona Franca, which we are working on modernizing it and empowering what we have. It's been very successful in promoting investment in production chains, but we need to review strategic services that can be key right now and can lead to economic recovery and can maintain jobs, which right now is one of our main concerns. Thank you very much, Madam Vice Minister. Then I think we would call on all Colombian entrepreneurs to work with ProColombia, Colombia Productiva, the ministry. I'm sure there are different lines of services then available depending on each of your needs. So thank you very much, Madam Vice Minister. I'd like to start talking now to the Vice Minister for the digital economy, Germán Reda. I was wondering, there's a meme out there in tech circles that I've thought is very interesting, and it asks, so who led digital transformation in your company? And there are several options. Answer A is the CEO of the company, B, the CTO, the tech officer, or C, COVID-19. And so I was wondering, sometimes I believe, I don't know if it's regrettable or fortunate, but many of the businesses that are answering this trivia question say that the answer is C, COVID-19, showing that this crisis has indeed accelerated digital transformation or the adoption of digital technologies in some businesses. And so it is true that digitalization, on the one hand, has become a lifesaver for many businesses. It's allowed them to survive this crisis and deal with it better. But this is a gargantuan task, however, for the vast majority of micro SMEs. If we recall data based on the Observatory for the Digital Economy, they say that under 11 or 12% of businesses in the country had a digital strategy in place before the pandemic. So yesterday, during one of our panels, one of our speakers was saying that in many businesses, digital transformation strategies consisted of very nice PowerPoint presentations, but there were very few companies that had actually adopted a complete transformation and a digital transformation of their business. So I'd like to ask you, how is the ministry supporting and looking at your own portfolio? How are you helping businesses that have started along this accelerated path towards transformation? How can you help them use digital technologies in an appropriate fashion in their businesses and this digital transformation, and how is this sustainable over time?
Thank you, Alejandra. Great question. Good morning to everyone, to all the other panelists and everybody who is with us from the entire region. So in our ministry, we have defined a mission, and we know we need to work on connectivity in parallel to this other work that we do for the digital economy. And Vice Minister Laura was saying that our greatest asset is our human capital, and it's true. For this technology to be adopted in an accelerated way, we have some programs that we use to support entrepreneurs at different levels. And the meme is right. COVID-19 did accelerate this digital transformation. In a few weeks, we saw an evolution that we would have seen probably in years. And this kind of shock that forces us to react is where human creativity is seen in practice. And we have programs that we've established at the ministry, and we hope these will help accelerate the adoption of these technologies for everyone. And yes, of course, the crisis has become an accelerator of these adoption processes. And I'm sure we'll hear now from our dear Felipe. So working together with different government entities, we've been working on projects to incentivize this transformation in our productive sectors. And I'll mention a few examples of these programs. I think they have been very useful in terms of what was done before COVID to prepare and what we're doing now at an accelerated pace. And Alejandra was mentioning the over 70% of the mini and SMEs that in a very short time have had to develop electronic channels. So we are working with the OAS on a program for digitalization of this micro and SMEs. And we have now companies that for free are having access to a web presence with tools that are very easy to use. They don't need to have very deep technological know-how. We put these tools at their disposal so they can learn very quickly how to set themselves up with an online presence with a georeferential service so that they can locate those customers who are looking at them so we can connect that demand with the supply. Also, we have some education programs, Empresario Digital, .gov.co. It's for digital entrepreneurs. People can connect and see what tools they need, learn about e-commerce, because you need to understand a little bit. And of course, it's always human beings behind any kind of digital transformation. So we need to make those adjustments to our chip in our brain. So we offer these educational opportunities for people to train themselves a little bit better, understand the whole concept. How can they put some of this into practice? We have apps.com, for example, an example of a program for people who have ideas and want to realize them. We help them create their product. We have also counseling and advisors for them, for the creative industries, for digital industries. So we're trying to incentivize this type of activity, support these entrepreneurs who have innovative ideas so they can deploy these programs. We also have initiatives such as Sofistica, which working with an organization called Colombia Productiva, is looking to target technological solutions to certain specific areas and e-commerce. And there we have the support that is needed so that there is an across-the-board support. And so companies can experiment and test out how traditional processes can be optimized by leveraging technology. And then jointly with Mincultura and Impulsa Colombia, which is an entity in the country in charge of promoting entrepreneurship and everything having to do with entrepreneurship at the national level. We have an Orange digital transformation program. So all that we have under that umbrella for the Orange economy is something that has been subjected to a diagnostic with experts. So we provide an evaluation and we financially support companies. We give them strategic support and we give them access to certain supply chains. I think our colleagues will tell you a little bit more about that. But also for traditional businesses that perhaps don't know how to get started in this job of going through a digital transformation, we have our business digital transformation centers. 24 of them will be opening up this year. We'll have 32, we hope, by next year in different areas, different regions of the country. So we provide a diagnosis and support, consultancy, so that these companies understand the main points. It's not just installing the software. There's a whole series of internal adjustments that need to be made, starting with the mindset of the human resources. So we help them in this through our business chambers or academia or other strategic partners so they can get started on that journey. So we're seeking to reach over 4,200 SMEs, micro and SMEs. And as they advance, we provide more and more tools to help them along their way. Another program we have from the ministry, again, with the support of our colleagues from other entities, is support for digital content, strengthening experience levels, deepening them. We're trying to provide an economic stimulus specifically for developing pilots, prototypes for digital video games, etc. And in 2020, now we are working with 42 companies specifically, and we've invested quite a lot into this to incentivize these industries. Also, from the ministry, and this is something I'm mentioning because Vice Minister Laura has this as a priority. We have a group for working on digital governance, and this is being accelerated because of the pandemic. So this is digital services for our citizenry. As a cross-cutting sector, we are working on a process of implementing an interoperability system utilizing XRO, the XRO platform. It's what Estonia is using. We have adopted it based on international standards. It's free. And so now we have national entities that are exchanging information through this platform. We're about to sign a decree on interoperability that will allow us to accelerate this transformation in sectors such as the health sector. We have improved our regulatory framework, so telehealth is accelerated. In the last few months, in March, we went from having approximately 80,000 medical visits, almost 1 million now of these medical visits in this format. So we see how we are opening up the minds of all entrepreneurs. How can we have technology as a facilitator, and how can we adopt solutions based on technology with new programs, new ideas, and digital solutions and transformational solutions that I think will accelerate even more as we provide this support based on knowledge, based on investments, in order to foster the development of new solutions. So we want to have the technical as well as the regulatory framework that will support that climate with the support of civil society, academia, and every other aspect of society. So we can support this, which is something we need so badly with this big change that we're making toward trade and services. Thank you very much, Vice Minister. It's very exciting to hear how from the government they are leveling the playing field and stimulating it, incentivizing it, so we can win, so to speak, this game that we are playing right now. And with this coordination between institutions, so you can support these digital companies. On these notes, I'd like to ask Felipe Buitrago, Vice Minister also for the Orange Economy, or the Ministry of Culture. We were talking about a program called Compra lo Nuestro, Buy What Is Ours, which seeks to connect industry and creative industry companies with traditional ones to generate business opportunities. Tell us a little bit about this strategy. What is the goal behind it? If you can give us some examples of how digital creative industries are generating value added in the production of goods and services by traditional industries in Colombia. Thank you very much, Alejandra. Greetings to you, to everyone who is listening, to my colleagues in the panel, Ileana, Laura, Eduardo. So this is a cross-cutting plan. So this Compra lo Nuestro campaign is a part of it, because we created our National Council for the Orange Economy, and we have decided to mainstream all of this. So based on the Connect Americas platform, we came up with this virtual cluster, if we can call it that, in Colombia. And together, working together with Colombia Productiva, we launched this for the orange economy, this orange community, as we call it. And it has started out well, because there's a lot in this orange economy that had already been participating with Connect Americas, but now this is enhanced and we're setting off on the right foot, because by activating this community, we are also launching with the IDB a massive open online course, a MOOC on the orange economy, and we are seeing the effect of the community already in there. There was very significant participation by companies and by Colombians in general in this training opportunity. And this is what it's about, really. These communities, when we clusterize companies, can help improve the way in which institutional supply can be there to serve the entrepreneurial community and the creative community, because very often we are spread out. We don't get the information, we don't find out about the opportunities. It's not that easy, because who has time to be looking out for this all the time? So when we have this community, this information is there, it's designed for my needs. You get rid of a lot of the background noise and you can get connected. So in terms of digital services, there are two very important things to consider. In the context of the digital transformation that was already happening, and the pandemic accelerated it all, of course, well, there was a shock, a very powerful shock. And this has forced us to design certain measures, promote new ones, and we need to tell people about them. But there are two very important ones, and opportunities that are part of our national plan for Colombian development. First of all, the Decree 474 creates an incentive, an audiovisual investment certificate called SINA, and 35% of the expenditure will go back into audiovisual production. So if there's a company that produces a series in Colombia and they invest $1 million in Colombia in artistic and production and logistics services in Colombia, they will get $350,000 back with a certificate. So they will get back a third of their investment. This is a great incentive, together with a number of measures targeted towards facilitating making it easier to do this in Colombia, because it's not enough to just have an incentive. You also have to eliminate any kind of barriers, any duties, etc. And if there's work by minors, for example, this can be a barrier. We work on that, and we work with the SENA such that the training that is provided in the technical field is relevant to what is needed so that our technicians can work with these productions. So it is an expansion of services trade in mode 2, where we invite companies from abroad to work in Colombia. We generate employment through foreign resources, and this will be important to turn Colombia into a regional audiovisual hub in the region, but also in a few years, hopefully we can say Colombia is a world power in terms of audiovisual. And now there's Decree 697 about to come out with two very important components. One, it defines the behavior of what we call orange development areas. Compra Lo Nuestro, for example, is a digital cluster. These are physical clusters. And these are the so-called creative districts that have been so successful in London, Madrid, Lisbon, Buenos Aires. And the idea is to bring groups together so people can work together, so we have a clustering there, and there's a cross-pollination of ideas, value added is created, and this also, when there's a community, allows us to renew our urban spaces without displacing communities, without, or in a way that is inclusive. So we don't want to disrupt our communities. On the contrary, we're trying to build better communities and spaces where people around their own identity can build a better community with diversity and better quality of life. So this is a sort of mechanism to attract businesses and investment and generate the development of these fundamental infrastructure. And we're talking about museums, galleries, but also under Decree 697, we include something novel, the expansion of a benefit that already exists in Colombia for national cinematic production. So 165% discount in terms of donations to national filmmaking. Now this is expanded to all the creative industries, and this together with the creative districts. So this becomes a very powerful tool to focus investment that creates employment and sustainable structures and development processes in our territories. So this year we have resources for about 5.6 billion pesos, and tax benefits also for donations. And this means that we can leverage approximately the creation of 15 million jobs and another amount of indirect jobs. We've had the presence of a significant number of international companies that are interested, but internally as well, we see that there are businesses that have shown up and wish to participate for different benefits. There's a known company, Smart Films. It's a festival of movies made with cellular phones. It's very well known there. This was something that would not be imagined in Colombia, but it's happening. It's happening in Mexico and Paraguay, I think, in the middle of the pandemic. It's going on to its 6th edition in Colombia. It has an OTT platform. So it's very interesting as a case, is Smart Films, because they consolidated by using resources from Impulsa and created their plan. So this is the importance of access to this institutional network. It's not a check tomorrow, it's all this preparation, access to important information that helps them make decisions. Another Colombian company that's done very well is Dinamo. They do audiovisual productions. They started 15 years ago as a micro enterprise was a dream. Let's make movies. Now they are partners of Netflix, Amazon, of the big players, and their productions are seen around the world. Others that are less well known in the crafts sector. We see interesting developments here as well. We've seen, for example, that we have new producers, new private producers of Colombian craft, and these are sold through digital platforms. And Artesanías Colombia is about to launch a digital store. So this physically and virtually allows us to accelerate transformation processes. And just in closing, if you're connected and you represent an orange economy company, we have Decree 286. You can still participate, and it's very simple. It's the commitment to make investments that create employment, and you can have 7 years tax-free. So www.economianaranja.gov.co. So check it out. So audiovisual incentives for investments or donations to the creative economy, and tax-free operations for Colombian audiovisual and other technologies. Thank you very much, Vice Minister. There you have all the housekeeping ads for all of our Orange Economy participants. As you can see, it's a whole ecosystem of institutional support that's very well organized in Colombia. Now, I'd like to hear now from our entrepreneurs who are with us today. Eduardo Costa, as I had mentioned, is the CEO of Omnicon, as a technological partner, helping clients go through the digital transformation with great advantages in terms of costs and timing. Eduardo also has participated in several of these programs, internationalization factories, which we are promoting and supporting through the IDB with ProColombia and the Ministry of Trade. And Eduardo, I'd love it if you could tell us, since you've gone through these experiences in person, you've led this company, and in times of pandemic, it's also a special experience. In these times of crisis, how are you supporting the digital transformation of other companies, not just in Colombia, but around the world? And tell us briefly also what you think the value added element has been. That has distinguished these support programs that you have participated in with ProColombia. Alejandra, good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure, and I feel so proud to be here. This is a dream come true for me. Anyway, in these times of crisis and emergency, I've really had some of the best times I've had in the 28 years that this company has existed. In times like this, we've been able to export. In '99, when we had the prior economic crisis, we had some exports, and now, thanks to this, I've understood what is important, just like 10 years ago when we had a world crisis too. And these times, and I tell everyone this, these are times when, though it's true that there is a shortage of resources, there's great need, but this is when our imagination goes into overdrive, when productivity comes to the fore, when people who are creative, like Felipe, see that this is the best time to begin to develop some of these creative initiatives. The main companies in the world were founded in times like these. And I heard something the other day that I loved. These times are when you use toothpaste, when the toothpaste is new, you put a lot of it on your toothpaste, but when you have very little left, you get creative. You squeeze it, you stick a little toothpick in it to get the toothpaste out, you get creative. And this is efficiency. This is where you find efficiency and also better ways to do things. And you can be more flexible and more adaptable. Are you speaking, Felipe? I'm sorry. No. So ultimately, the important thing is to work together, to be willing to get advice from others by ProColombia, the Chamber of Commerce that has an innovation program. We're working in a digital economy cluster with all the Valle del Cauca companies, about 127 digital companies, and we work with those of other sectors, health, construction, macro snacks, to develop digital economy projects. And also, there's a project being developed for these companies to be more efficient, and so we can learn from that industry and export that knowledge. So I'd like to say, Alejandra, that we've been working for 28 years, and 21 years we began to export because nobody wanted to come to Colombia. So we began with multinational projects, and these multinational projects, due to costs, were taking us to other regions in Latin America. And then they said, what's wrong with taking these Colombians to the US? Because we were efficient. So we ended up going to Europe as well, then to Asia. And now we've been to 65 countries. We've worked on projects in 65 countries. So interesting. We never imagined we'd be in Sri Lanka, in Romania, very industrialized countries such as South Korea, China, Singapore. It's the dream. I was talking to Aparo Brizales the other day, and we said, India is our big model for digital services, and now we are exporting to India. We've worked on several projects there. So I think any limits that we have are in our own imagination. We place them upon ourselves. So what are we doing now? Well, first of all, I want to thank my human resources team. They are wonderful. They make things happen. I feel so proud of them. And they're developing all the important initiatives so that when the economy starts to become active again, we're ready, and we're supporting all our clients in developing technological projects. We understood that technological projects in general are developed as a way to implement a technology, but we figured out that the technology is not the solution in and of itself. The technology is not the solution, it's a tool. It's a facilitating element. And 10 years ago, when we had that other crisis, we were exporting services to the entire world, and all of a sudden, the work dried up. Why? Because we weren't relevant, because what we were offering were engineering hours, man hours, and we needed to understand what the technology was for. As engineers, we realized that we needed to have a consultation process so we could understand the real needs of our clients, so that we could offer or counsel them according to the needs, the real needs that they had. We needed to give them a future state that could be their ideal future state through technology. And we found something very interesting, is that for companies and for any entity, there are only three things that are important and relevant: saving money and everything else, being more productive, and mitigating risk. When we connected our consulting services with the understanding that what were the benefits we were bringing to that company, we did the implementation of software and technology. And a nice thing is that we developed the first Industry 4.0 platform for Latin America. It's called Ibiza, like the beautiful island in Spain, but with an S. In fact, the first concept was industrial business information as a service. And we were naive, like children. We thought, we know we can do big things. I can do wonderful things. So we started to develop this, and what we're doing now is working on a process that is consultative with benefits and an implementation of those benefits until we get to the outcome, to results. And because we're imaginative, we gave it a name in English: resultancy. Consultancy and results together. In Spanish, maybe we could call it resultoría, combining the two Spanish words. So we are resultants. We consult you on how to get to results. So we started working on that, and visionary companies that we work with around the world started to feel that we were relevant. that they could invest and get better results from their technological investments. And now we have over 100 consultants that travel around the world and need to understand each one of these industries deeply. They moderate a meeting where there are a lot of young people, mostly women. This has been something interesting to us as well. Most of us in these groups are women, not me particularly, but we have been able to connect everything that was needed at the time with the responses, the answers that were useful. And now we've continued to work with clients. And one of the most difficult gaps to close when we keep working, what do we do with that consulting connection that we used to go to different countries? We were worried about that, but technology made it possible to do it virtually. Now we've had virtually developed projects, virtual initiatives. We've put plants into operation. We have 80 projects going on simultaneously. It was a launching of a plant in New York, New Jersey, one in Anaheim, California. We're developing a project in Mexico, and we're doing all of this virtually. So we had the person here and we connected directly with the people there at the plant. We always try to be good ambassadors from Colombia to the world, show the world that there's talent in Colombia, and we want to create a good reputation for Colombia, so that we are creative, that we're hardworking. And there's something I admire in Colombia. Colombians and maybe Latin Americans in general have something that's very nice in our way of being. As we do things, we innovate and we make things perhaps more simple and efficient. So we're working in that way. We had a meeting with our staff about the purpose of the company, and one person said, we make the world go around. There's the pharmaceuticals and these essential companies are working, but we are the ones who allow those plants to continue operating with or without COVID. So we're working very hard on that aspect. Regarding support, ProColombia is really the wind beneath our wings. We're passionate, as you can see, and we want to fly high, and we have a goal. We want to grow tenfold in the next 5 years. And our staff, they are the ones who chose that goal in dollars. So we are going to grow tenfold in dollars in the next 5 years, with or without COVID. So we're working closely with ProColombia for that. We've worked in many programs. The internationalization factories is a main one, exporting excellence as well. And we have a group of experts who have helped us identify our target markets, the low-hanging fruit that's right there where we can get the most benefit quickly. And we conducted an analysis of different countries, different markets. They're experts in technology, in the markets. We've been counseled in terms of legal aspects, tax aspects. So it's been wonderful. Eduardo, I'm sorry. We are out of time, and I wanted to let Ilana make a few comments. We have 5 minutes. And Ilana, in this orange universe, information technologies are leading this transformation. And I think this is a very good example that we see in Maker Kits, multi-platform educational software that's transforming traditional software. Ileana, if you can tell us a little bit about how you are teaching technology through hobbies to kids and young people all over the region. And please tell us very briefly as well about your experience as a woman at the head of a creative and knowledge-based company. I'm sorry, we have only 3 minutes left, and then we will need to conclude this panel. Well, of course, Alejandra, thank you very much. Thank you. I wanted to thank the IDB team for this invitation, first of all, and thank the vice ministers and Laura, Germán, Felipe. I think he's out of the meeting already. And Eduardo, what you were telling us was very interesting. I can feel your passion when you speak. So since 2013, we've had a model, the coding boot camps. We brought it to Latin America because we felt that this matter of acting, not just talking, was very important. So we've been implementing these boot camps in Latin America. We were the pioneers with this. And this matter of training needs to happen not just as shock therapy. It has to come from before. We need to have the ability to see and foresee opportunities and not just react when the crisis is already here. So the orange economy is such an interesting topic. We've been working on topics related to it for many years, capabilities and skills, not just knowing how to communicate something, but knowing how to do it, create it, not having to import it. I think all of this is important, not just for adults, but for children as well. And that's what we are doing. And then in closing, our vision of Latin America is that we need to combine our creative talents, animation, our ideas. We need to have real innovation patents. And Latin Americans need to have that capability within Latin America and for Latin America, not always just thinking about exporting it to other countries. I think the role of education is very important in this mission. And I hope that we could deal with some issues of coverage, but also quality and relevance in our program. So thank you very much once again for these few minutes, and it's been a pleasure listening to the other panelists as well. Thank you very much, Ilana. I'm sorry we ran out of time at the end here, so we apologize for having cut your intervention short. But thank you, everyone. There are other interesting sessions that we have today, so I won't take any more of your time. I want to thank the vice ministers who've been with us, Eduardo, Ilana as well. And in closing, I just want to tell you that as Victor Hugo, the French poet, used to say, there's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And this crisis has shown us this, and also it has shown us that this is the time to bet on creativity, innovation, talent, and digital transportation as pillars for the economic growth of our region and of Colombia specifically. So thank you all once again. I'm being told that the session will be, or has been recorded, so you can watch it again. Thank you very much once again for being connected to Outsource to LAC 2020. Thank you.